Hello and welcome to the Wonderful World of Knitting podcast. This is episode 3 of my podcast. Welcome back, any returning viewers and any new viewers. Hello, this is a podcast about knitting, basically. All my knitting, all the things I'm working on, finished objects. So yes, welcome to episode 3. It has been a few weeks, so I apologize. Life got very busy. Since my last episode, it has been a few weeks. So yeah, just a quick intro for any new viewers. So my name is Kathleen. I'm coming to you from the United Kingdom, West London. Yes, I live here with my 2 children and my partner. And yeah, my passion is knitting. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So anything else that I should mention in the introduction? It might come to me later. Shall we start? We're going to go straight in. We've got a lot of content to cover today. So, what I'm wearing, let's start with that. I am wearing a beautiful lace shawl that I knitted pretty early on in my knitting days. I knitted probably about, I think more than 7 years ago. I want to say 8 or 9 years ago. Yes, around that. This was my very first lace shawl, and I'm just going to come a bit closer so you can see. It is a beautiful, beautiful lace shawl. I love lace. It does take time to knit it. It's very intricate, but it's actually easy as well once you know what you're doing. Because all you do in lace is, obviously you do these, you make the holes by yarn overs. When you make such a hole, such a yarn over, you increase your knitting by 1 stitch. So now to keep your same stitch count at the same time as you increase, you decrease. So that you keep your stitch count. So it's actually really simple for anyone out there who hasn't tried lace yet. It's really wonderful. Let me take it off and I'll show you. Yes, it is a white lace shawl. It almost looks like a christening kind of lace shawl. What babies wear for their christening. Let me show you. This is so beautiful. When I see this now, I feel like I want to knit it again. Look at this beautiful. Look at this beautiful design. Wow. I feel like I'm not wearing this enough. I think what I may do is I may knit this again. This is just too beautiful. It was a free pattern as well. I shall show you the pattern in a moment. Oops, sorry, something is sticking out here. Oh God, sorry. Sorry. So yeah, it's a free pattern. Oh, I am sorry. I will cut this out. A free pattern. And I shall show you the pattern in a moment. Yes, it's very beautiful. The only thing that I feel is I think it could be bigger. It could be bigger. And I'm going to put this back on down. Let me show you the pattern. First I have to put this back the way I want it. There's so many different ways of wearing shawls as well. If they're big, you can just drape them over your shoulder and they will stay there. It's really lovely. So this is the Ashton Shawlette. There in the pattern, it is a different color. Right, let me come this way. Yeah, it is a different color. I chose to knit it in white. And this is actually a pattern for lace beginners. So anyone wanting to give lace shawls a try, I would really recommend this pattern. It's because it's extremely detailed. It's extremely detailed. It gives you even an example chart. It explains everything in great detail. And then the actual pattern itself, you've got the the explanation now for what each stitch means, and then you've got the different charts. When you do lace knitting, charts are so much easier to work off, I find, than written instructions, because then it gives you a visual as well. You can just see the pattern coming out when you look at the chart. So yeah, very detailed, and also it gives you written instructions as well. I believe this was a free pattern, yes. Excuse me. So yeah, unfortunately I didn't keep the yarn labels. I can't tell you what yarn I used, I'm sorry. So this is what I'm wearing. Okay, so next up, what we are going to talk about, finished objects. Let's talk about finished objects. Yes. Okay, let's start with this one. Let's start with the easy one. So last time, in the last episode, I was working on the flax sweater for my 4-year-old daughter. It's finished now. Let me show you the flax sweater. Ta-da! Can we zoom in? Yeah. There. It's a very simple top-down construction, raglan construction, with a garter panel here at the shoulders, going all the way down the sleeves. And I think next time when I knit the flax sweater, because I'm thinking I might actually knit one for my partner. Next time I knit the flax sweater, I will omit the garter pattern here. I don't actually like that look, to be honest. So yeah, I'm thinking of knitting him, because he's quite large as well. I think I will knit him a woolly sweater. Maybe use the Istex à la Fuslupi, which is an Icelandic wool, which is really nice. I'm thinking to do that. And then I would just use the same pattern, the flax sweater, because it's a simple top-down raglan, and it's extremely size inclusive. It goes to baby all the way up to, I don't know, 5 or 6 XL, so that should fit him. So yeah, so I've knitted this one in hang on, let me show you. I've knitted this one with the Chops Puna, held double with woolly knit, 100% British wool cone. I've knitted, yeah, so it's basically a DK plus a fingering weight yarn that I held double, which gave me about 17.5 stitches. So yeah, that's about an Aran weight, almost chunky weight. So yeah, so that was done. That was a quick knit. That was one of my finished objects. I shall just throw this on the floor. There's no space. And now the big finished object. When I say big, I mean it was quite a complicated pattern. The very big finished object. It is finished now. For anyone who saw my last 2 episodes, they will recognize this. This is a lace cardigan, a seamed lace cardigan, so meaning it's knit in pieces. You seam it up. So yeah, let me show you first of all. It is finally finished. I finished it a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. I was very pleased when I finished it. So I'm just going to put this on now for you, so you can see. So the pattern is called, bear with me, I'm throwing everything on the floor, that was done. As I put it on, the pattern, it is by Rico. Let me show you this. Rico Knitting Idea Compact, and I knitted this grey short sleeve version, but I think what I've done is I actually combined the long sleeve version with the short sleeve version almost, because I knitted my sleeves longer. I just want to put this on for you so you can see. I shall also add a photo of me wearing the finished garment so you can see. So yeah, I'm pleased with the garment, with the outcome. Let me stand up and show you. there we go. I've chose some beautiful grey buttons, very plain, simple grey buttons that go with the cardigan. The sleeves are way too large, not sure why, but I did not use the recommended yarn, a very different yarn I used. The yarn they call for, it's their own yarn, Rico, and it's, I think it's an acrylic, some synthetic yarn, and I don't like to use them too much. So I went for this yarn, which was a blend of merino wool, cashmere and silk. So I used this yarn, not sure if you can see, light Arranmore Donegal Tweed. So yeah, very different yarn, different to what the pattern calls for, and so maybe that's partly why it gave me a different result. And now just to explain how I knitted that, I won't go into it too much, I don't want to bore you with the details again since I talk about it in the other episodes, but I've knitted the back separately, I knitted the two fronts separately, I knitted the sleeves separately, and then I seamed it together. So the modification store I made is I knitted the cardigan longer, so because you knit from the bottom up, I made this here, this lengthwise, I knitted it longer. And so this threw this off as well, because then what I had to do is I had to re-knit the sleeves, I had to whip it back. I had to undo the bind off, whip it back, and then I had to re-knit the sleeves. And also I wanted to knit them longer, I wanted them to be like halfway sleeve kind of length, where the other one was too short. And then I did a very stretchy bind off, so that, because what I had to do is I had to do the satin sleeves. So I want to show you the seam as well. And so yeah, anyway, I did run into a few problems, because obviously I added length to the cardigan. I think it made the body longer, and so then when I knitted the sleeves I wasn't able to set them in. That's why partly I don't like knitted garments, knit them in pieces. I don't really like that, because then you can't match them up, they're not the right size. But let me show you the seam. So here on the side, this is the side seam along here. So on the right side of the work, it is completely seamless. That's what I love about it. It's mattress stitched, so you don't see it on the right side. It looks as if it is just knitted. Look, it's beautiful. But then on the wrong side, ta-da! This is where the seam is, on the wrong side, yeah. But the right side is still facing you as you do the mattress. I use mattress stitch to seam them up. And then also, so the biggest challenge was really to do the set-in sleeves. So you can see here, it's really difficult to show on camera. So because obviously this piece here, the sleeve, was one piece, and I had to seam it all into the body. So this is the, this is so difficult to show. I think I'm just going to show it from the back, then you will see more what I'm talking about. So this is the shoulder seam here. So yeah, to do the set-in sleeves was tricky, but there's a good way of doing it. You just have to really look, match it up with some removable stitch markers. You can pin the pieces out to make sure that as you're seaming, you don't seam all the way and then suddenly on one side your garment is still a lot longer than the other side that you're seaming. So like, let's say if this is the length of one garment, this is the sleeve, and then suddenly you're at the end here and you still have to do all this seaming of this piece. So you don't want that to happen, as obviously then what you're going to do with that, you can't just fold it over. It has to look professional, right? So yes, you have to kind of play around with it and just pin it out to the edges, and then you can just divide it and see, do I have to use more do I have to eat up more of the stitches on this side to make it match the other side? I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly. But yeah, I definitely had to redo the sleeves to have a stretchy bind off, so I could then, when I blocked it out, I could stretch it out, and that way I was able to seam it up much better. Yes. So yeah, that was that, and I just chose some simple buttons, as I said. But look at that zigzag, it's so beautiful. I think I'm just going to put this on now for the rest of the episode and leave it like that. I can just leave it open. Yeah, so that's it. These are my 2 finished objects, and now shall we... I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I should mention. It did take me a few months to finish this piece. I was working on other pieces as well, but I started this in January this year and I finished it beginning of May. So yeah, it did take me a few months as you then start to knit on other pieces, and I didn't have to use up much yarn. As I said before, this yarn is extremely lightweight. I'm not sure if it's the silk or cashmere content in it, but yeah, it was beautiful to work with this yarn. Yes. And now that we've done our finished objects, shall we do works in progress? The first one, I think I will show you the smallest work in progress first, and then in the end I shall show you the large one that I've been concentrating on a lot at the moment. But first the small one. I'm housing this small one in this project bag. So this project bag is actually, I think is used for, you know, when you even want to knit whilst you're walking on the go, you can hold your bag like that. The yarn is coming out of the bag and you just knit and you can walk like that. Hence it has this kind of opening here. But you can't open it as such, but you can just hang it over your arm like that. You don't want your project to be very heavy though, otherwise, you know, you're going to be in pain. So maybe if you have a sock to work on, you can just carry it like that. So yes, this is a hat. This is only like early beginnings. As I said, there's another project that I've been working on a lot, so I did not dedicate much time to this one. But this is just basically a hat that I'm knitting for my 4-year-old. And I am using a commercial yarn that I quite liked when I saw it in the shop. When I went to Hobbycraft and bought it there. I did like it when I saw it, but now that I'm working with it, I think I fell out of love with this yarn. It's supposed to be, I love Tweedy yarns, and there are these little specks in it. And yeah, I'm a sucker when it comes to Tweedy yarns. I love them, so that's why I had to buy it. So yeah, this one is called, it's from Cedar, Harwalk Tweed, double knit DK yarn. And I'm not really using a pattern as such. When I knit hats, what I do is, excuse me, I would measure the head circumference. So with my daughter, I measured 19.5 inches. And then what I do is, of course, I knit a swatch with exactly the same needles I want to use and exactly the same yarn I want to use. Also, I make sure that when I want to knit in the round, you have to swatch in the round as well, as your gauge will be different if you work back and forth. So I knitted a swatch in the round, and I found out that I can't remember with that specific pattern now with this needle. But like, let's say you get 4 stitches per inch, and let's say you have a head circumference for, in this case now my daughter, 19.5 inch. You just simply multiply the number of stitches in the inch, so 4, multiply that by the inches, and that gives you the number of stitches to cast on. Extremely simple. You can do that, you know, for yourself. Obviously, you measure your head circumference, and then you find out how many stitches per inch. You multiply it by your head circumference, and then you cast on, and then you just knit, And then as you get closer to the crown, you can try it on. As you get closer to the crown, what I will be doing is then, I've done this before, and if I remember correctly, I think I decrease every 8th stitch, I believe, in every single row. So every 8 stitches, I think you do a knit 2 together on each round. So you decrease until you only have a few stitches left, and then you just you know, just seam them up and hide the stitches. So yeah, that was that. And also I'm knitting this one on my let me show you, better if I show you, on my Jargo shorties, haha, because this is a small circumference. Yeah. Now the yarn is twisted. Oh god, great, I've twisted it. Look at this mess now. I made such a mess now, I can't even show you. This is not going well. Anyway, it is a small circumference, so what I like to do is with small circumference knitting, I use my Jargo shorties set. And this is really amazing, because what you get is, you get I think you get 2, is it 4 or 5 inches? I can't remember. But anyway, you get 2 different needle tips. And now of course they're all falling out. I had to put them back in. But I want to show you them. You get 2 different needle sets. You get a very short needle set and you get the longer needles. So that way it gives you an overall different circumference of your needle. So you get anything from 9 inches to maybe 14, no, even 16 inches. And you get 3 different cords, and they're housed in these small bags here. So you can also connect 2 cords together to make it larger. So yeah, it gives you great variety and many different possibilities. You know, you can knit socks with the sleeves, and I think this one goes from 3.5 to 5 millimeter. So yeah, this is a really handy one to have. I'm using that one all the time. So yeah, so that was my first work in progress. And I'll just take another sip of tea. I hope you have something lovely to drink as well. Yes, and now onto the second work in progress. That is my twin flower socks. Ta-da! I want to show you the pattern first. Twin flower socks by Twin Set Pearl. And I'm using this beautiful yellow yarn, sock yarn. I think it is superwash. I can totally feel the difference. And I'm keeping this in my sock needle case holder. It's so lovely. I shall try and find it online and link it below. It's from Della Q, because then it protects your needles. It's perfect for double pointed needles and even flexible DPNs. Excuse me. And so let me show you what I've got so far. It's really beautiful. It does take such a long time to knit the lace pattern. It's quite delicate. Look at this. I think it is meant to be like a, I mean, because it says twin flower socks, so I assume that it's some kind of some flower. I think it's meant to be a flower pattern coming out of this. And so you've got these patterns all the way. So you have to repeat it 4 times all around. And I'm knitting that on my flexible double pointed needles. They are the higher sharp flexible pointed needles. And you can bend them. It has the cable, and so the stitches can hold on this one side. With DPNs you need at least 3 needles to knit around, so you then knit on the 4th needle. Now with this one you only hold the sock. Of course one needle fell down. You only hold the sock on 2 needles, and then you can just bend them and knit around. So yeah, these are my twin flower socks. And I got the yarn. I want to show you the label as well. I got the yarn from Botanical Yarn. Yeah. And this is the pattern. I can't show you because it's a paid for pattern. So yes, look at this beautiful sock that I will have in the end. So it has only the patterning here on the cuff, and then it's a simple stockinette sock down. So that was that. And this one I think will take a while, this sock, because I think I will only knit on this, you know, on and off in between other projects. Yeah, and then we shall see how that goes. I can't wait for the lace pattern to finish, and then I can just knit on the sock. Yes. And now to the big work in progress that I have. I mentioned it in the previous episode. I said that I wanted to knit it. So this is, I want to, because I'm so excited of showing you the garment, my work in progress. I want to show you the pattern first. So this is the, what's it called? The puff tee. Yes, it's the puff tee. Let me show you. I started that, I think at the beginning of May. So I've been knitting on this for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I've made really good progress. I'm just trying to straighten it out for you and show you. So there we go. You can't see much, but yes, this is gorgeous. I love this. This is I thought somebody's coming now. This is the first time I'm doing a folded neckband, because what you do is you knit the ribbing, you fold it over, and then you pick up the cast-on stitches, knit them together with your live stitches, which gives you that thick fold. This is the back, so you can see the seam here. Let me show you the front. So this is a folded neckband. First time I did that, and I really like the look of it. So it's going to have these puff sleeves, bit of an old, I want to say old-fashioned look, but I think it's coming back into fashion now, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that's a 1940s look, but I love it. It looks really nice, I think. I think it will look nice. So this is going to be here the puff sleeve. You can see that already. And at first, what the pattern has you do is, once you finish the neckband, you need to do short row, German short rows. They're so easy to make, really, honestly, so easy, and they work so well. You don't have to pick up wraps. Before you had to do the wraps and turns, and then you have to pick up the wraps, and that was really tricky. I could never see the wraps. So with the German short rows, you don't have that. You have to just pull. I mean, I can't give you the instructions now, but if you're interested, have a look on YouTube. So yeah, German short rows, and what that does, it raises the back, because essentially you knit back and forth or around the back, so that the front sits lower. And this look is just amazing. I love it how knitting works. You know what you can do with stitches, how it all is constructed and comes together. It's magic. Knitting is magic. So, and then you have I think in the pattern it's called the saddle shoulder. So this is the shoulder top. And then I'm going to do more increases now, raglan increases, still on the sleeves as well as the body. And then it's time to separate for the sleeves. But it's quite still an unusual raglan type. With other raglans, I think here is different because of the puff sleeve. That's, I think, what makes this very different. Anyway, I'm really enjoying that that project at the moment. I'm knitting it with the, where is it gone? Let me show you. I'm knitting it with the Rowan felted tweed. I showed this in the previous episode. I have to show it again because this is so gorgeous. I love this color. And it does say here on the ball band as well, a felted effect yarn. So this is really true. Somehow it looks a little bit as if you felted the yarn. So yeah, it's lovely. I love it. I can't wait to wear this actually, and be done with it, and yeah, and wear it and move on to the next project. And I think I'll just be taking a very quick break and then we'll continue. Yes, I'm back now after my break. Yes, there was one thing that I still wanted to mention about the puff tee, because so I had to change the gauge on this project. The pattern, I believe, calls for about, I think, 20 stitches per 10 centimeters or so, and so I would have needed an Aran weight yarn. Also, I'm quite a tight knitter as well. So I couldn't achieve the 20 stitches on this DK weight yarn. If I had done that, I would have to use much larger needles, and then the garment, the fabric would be quite loose as well. The stitches would be loose. So, and I really wanted to use this yarn as well. So I couldn't get 20 stitches per 10 centimeters. I had more. I think I have about 24 stitches or something like that, or 23 stitches. So I had to basically modify the gauge, and so I'm knitting this at a different gauge, different to what the yarn calls for. Now, to make sure that this still fits you, what I have to do is, so first I have to look at my actual size, what size I choose for the garment, and let's say I want the size of 37 inches around the bust, yeah. Because that's always obviously the part that needs to, I mean, in my case anyway, that needs to fit. So I know what size I want. I want 37 inches around the bust. And then what you do is you knit your swatch with the needles you want to use and the yarn you want to use. And let's say you get 4 stitches per inch. Let's just say, as an example, 4 stitches per inch. You then multiply that by your measurement around the bust, so that would be 4 times 37 inches, which will give you the stitch number that you need in order for the garment to fit you with this yarn and with this needle. So I think in my case it was 225 stitches I need around here for this to fit me. And then what you do is simply you go to the pattern and you read the pattern, and by the part where it says separate the sleeves from the body, it should give you the number of stitches per inch that you have for the body. And then you basically just look at the sizes, because it has different sizes, right? So for the larger sizes, obviously you have a higher number of stitches. So then I simply chose that size, and in my case it was size L, where I get the correct number of stitches around the body. So it was, I think I had then 220 stitches, which was still minus 5 stitches that I had. So then I just simply chose the size L. So that's what you do, is to modify the gauge. Well, I mean, I'm sure there are other ways to do it as well, but I think that's the best way to do it. As I said, I'm doing this for the very first time, changing the gauge in a pattern, and I'm not sure exactly how this works, how it will work out, but we shall see, right? It is all a learning curve. In knitting, it's all about the way, right? It's all about the process. This is a process knitter speaking now. Yes, it's all about the knitting. It's not so much about the finished object, or is it? So yes, that's it. We shall see how that comes out. And now, I want to show you what I'm thinking for my next project now. I'm sure most of you probably know the lovely designer Petite Knit. She has so many patterns out there, and I would like to knit the Cumulus blouse. I'm probably butchering the name now. I will add a picture here once I do the editing. I'm just going to pronounce it Cumulus blouse. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Maybe somebody can correct me. But yeah, that's what I want to knit. It's a very loose garment. It has a deep rounded neck shaping. Looks quite feminine, loose, quite a loose garment, not tight, yeah. and I think it calls for 18 stitches, so really quite loose, and she's suggesting to use 2 lace yarns together held double. So for me, 2 lace yarns held double to get 18 stitches, I would still have to use large needles. As I said, I'm a tight knitter. I always have to go up in needle size to get gauge. So anyway, it's going to be a loose garment. So I think I'll do this next, and ideally I want to cast on today. And the yarn choice, I'm thinking I have this gorgeous, and again I think I'm butchering the name now, I have this gorgeous Aimee. It's a French, I'm sorry, I think I've butchered it. It's a French yarn producer. I think they are in Paris. Yes, hand dyed in Paris. Stunning yarn. Costly, but stunning. Ta-da! Let me show you that. Yes. Ta-da! Aimee. Am I holding this correctly for you? This is the first one. Oh, look at this gorgeous color. So this is a lace weight yarn, and it is called Helix. Stunning, stunning. So this is lace weight yarn, and I could hold this double with this mohair silk. Look at this. Oh. I'm not sure if it's blowing out. Can you see it? So I can hold them double. I have not swatched yet, so I will do that and see how it comes out. So I could use those. I think that would look stunning. Now I'm picturing the cumulus blouse. It will be loose. Oh my god, it will be stunning. So I can use that. Or this is another Aimee, another yarn. Look at this. Oh, gorgeous. This is like a grey silver with brown in it. So this is also a mohair, silk mohair yarn. And this is called, yes, this is just called the mohair silk. And the color is Santoki. So I could hold these double, or of the same colorway I've got a fingering weight yarn. I could hold this, so this is the same colorway as you can see. I could hold this double with that and make a cumulus blouse with that. However, because this is fingering weight yarn, which is thicker than the lace weight yarn, if I use this held doubled with the lace weight yarn with the silk mohair, it would give me an ever so slightly thicker and denser fabric. So we shall see what I choose. I think I might actually just swatch with both and see which one I like more. So yes, that's what I'm planning for next. I can't wait. And then the other project that I have in mind. First I will show you the book. Not sure if this if this says anything to anyone out there. Elizabeth Zimmermann's Knitter's Almanac. So she's a legend, a master in the knitting world, and I think she's done so much for the knitting world. Honestly, I mean, she is an absolute master. When I read this book, I'm in awe. What she's done. Yes, I mean, I think she is no longer alive, but I think there's a lovely video out there. I think there's one video on YouTube that I saw with actual Elizabeth Zimmermann, an older video. But then I think there's also an interview of her daughter, of Elizabeth Zimmermann's daughter. And yeah, I mean, I would really recommend this book. Even if you're not an experienced knitter, I would still recommend it to anyone because it is written in such a funny and witty way. I sometimes just read that for entertaining, not even to, not even to read any knitting patterns. I just read it for the pleasure. So what she's done in this book, she has 12 patterns in this book, one pattern for each month. So it goes from January to December. And what she does is she gives It's basically just text. It's not a pattern book. It's text, and she would. She would also she also talks about what she's doing, and she's talking about her life, and I don't know, her husband, was he from Germany? And I think she's a British lady. I cannot quite remember. Sorry. But yeah, she talks about her and her husband's life, and whenever she was knitting, and that they went on a when they went traveling, she would always take her knitting with her. And when her husband was on a business trip, she would sit in the park and knit. And it's honestly written in such a beautiful way. And she's giving some great advice. And so there's this one pattern in here. I mean, I've already actually knitted one pattern already, which I will show in the next podcast, in the next episode. I knitted a table runner. I will show that next time. But now I'm thinking to knit a shawl, a pie shawl. So this is for the month of July. And this is called a shawl, good travel knitting, 1 row buttonhole. This is what she calls it. And so now let me try to explain what a pie shawl is. This is probably the worst explanation I'm going to give you now, but I want to try. And then I shall read out what she says, because she actually can explain it in a way that makes sense, I suppose. But anyway, what it is with the pie shawl, you start from the center and you knit out. So it's a round shawl. You start from the center and you increase, and it's a symmetry. So what you do is you start from the center, and then you double your stitches in the increase round. You double your stitches. So like, let's say you had 4 stitches to start with. You double them in the increase round. You've got 8. Now what you then do, you have rounds, simple plain knit rounds in between the increase rounds. And these plain knit rounds, they double, hang on, I'm lost now. So hang on, so you increase, you double your stitches, and then the number of non-increase rounds, they double. So like, let's say for the next round, you have 6 plain rounds of no increases. You then knit an increase round. Then you have 12 plain increase rounds. Then you increase. Sorry, let me go back now. I am butchering the explanation, sorry. You have 12 plain rounds with no increases. So then you increase. Then you have 24 plain rounds with no increases. Then you have 48 rounds plain knitting in between the increases. So this is, it's basically geometry. Let me read this out. As I said, I didn't do this very well, trying to give the explanation. I'm going to read this out. Have you begun to see the well-known geometry theory behind what you have been doing? If you are a man, you will have spotted it right away. So this might be a bit sexist for some. She is there was it was some time ago, you know, in the past, so they had a different view on what men and women can do. So I apologize there. If you are a woman, you probably expunged some theories from your memory the minute you finished high school or even college to make room for more useful stuff. It's pie. The geometry, now comes the explanation, so yes, pay attention to that. The geometry of the circle hinging on the mysterious relationship of the circumference of a circle to its radius. There we go. Now this is the geometrical explanation. A circle will double its circumference in infinitely themselves doubling distances. Or, in knitters' terms, the distance between the increase rounds, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, let's say that again. The distance between the increase rounds in which you double the number of stitches goes 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, 96 rounds and so on. So you double the number of non-increase rounds. And so on to 192. You double them. 394, 788, 1576 rounds in case you want to knit a very large and humongous shawl. And so on, for all I know. Theory is theory, and I have no intention of putting it into practice, as I do not plan to make a lace carpet for a football field. So this is what Elizabeth Zimmermann is saying. Yeah, amazing lady, amazing knitter. So yes, that's what I'd like to do. And obviously I won't be doing a humongous lace, round lace shawl. I will just do one that covers me nicely. And also what I could do is I could use alternating colors. You know, so you have one section with one color, and then, you know, this next section with, so you alternate colors. And let me show you the picture that will probably give you an idea of what I'm talking about now. So this is the shawl. So you start from the very center, and so this section you see here, all this would be plain knitting, but she added the lace pattern. Now in this section here, all these sections would be plain knitting, because you double the number of stitches. I'm not going to try the explanation again, but anyway, that's pi geometry for you. Very, very interesting how this works. Very mysterious relationship there. This is another example of a pie shawl down here, where you could just simply add yarn overs in between the increase rounds to obviously would be decorative yarn overs. Whew, that was difficult. I hope I didn't bore too many people now with this. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking to do. And then, because now I just had the book that I showed you, I wanted to show you another book as well. As I had my books out, I thought, let me show you this one too. This is the very first knitting book that I bought, and it is a huge book. This is called the Knitting Book, Yarns, Techniques, Stitches, Patterns. And this book is great for beginners as well as for experienced knitters, because at the back, I'm only showing you a few things, because obviously it's a book, I don't want to give away too much. So you've got, you've got patterns at the end of it, but at the front you have all the different techniques that you can ask for. You've got different edgings. Let me show you that. You've got different edgings, how to work them. Oh gosh. Oh, look at that. I have to show you that. Look at this color. Ta-da! Look at this. Beautiful. I'm just going to read out what it says here. Oh, lace. They're talking of lace here. They talk of color work. Yes, I would really recommend that book. I wanted to show you. I've used it a lot in my years of knitting. Just a quick twink. So yes. And then the last one I want to show you that I would love to knit. There are actually two items in this book that I'd like to knit. So this is Foam by Kim Hargreaves. And there's two patterns in here that I want to make. I want to show you that. And I think this is in collaboration with the Knit Rowan yarn. Bear with me, I'm looking for the pattern now. Is it there? Is it coming? Yeah, there we go. This is a beautiful cardigan that I'd like to make. Let me show you that. Yes, I would love to knit this cardigan. This cardigan uses the yarn called Rowan Alpaca Classic in this kind of a grayish color. So that's what I'd like to make. And I've got the pattern in here in this book, and I read the pattern. But I'm not sure if I can knit it. There were a couple of sections in there that confused me, So ultimately I know I can knit it, because even if I run into a problem, I can try and contact the designer or Rowan, and they will provide me with some support. So I know I can make it. But yeah, as I said, I mean, I would see myself as an experienced knitter, but there's one section in there which is really confusing. So I don't know. Sometimes, often when I find with knitting as well, is when I start and I've got the project in front of me, and then you read the pattern, it all makes sense. Because then you can see what they mean, and then you can read your knitting and see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So yes, that's what I want to make. And then there's another pattern in here that I already bought the yarn for, and it is this top here. Can you see it? It's this top that I'd like to make. And yeah, this pattern I read, and I understand it. That wouldn't be a problem. And I bought this beautiful yarn for that, to make it in this gorgeous moss green color. And this yarn is Rowan Alpaca Classic, made with superfine alpaca and cotton. Yes, alpaca and cotton. Yes, it's quite soft. So yes, let's see. Yes, there's also a small acquisition part today. You know, as I said before, I'm on a ban. I tend to buy not yarn anymore. I'm a good girl now. But when I went to Hobbycraft the other day, which is a big store for any hobby related items, baking, knitting, sewing, colouring, making, bread making, card making, called Hobbycraft, and I was there the other day and I could not help myself and buy this yarn. So this is acrylic yarn. I don't like acrylic yarn, but I could not say no to the colour. I don't think it's coming out well on camera, but this colour is called Paprika, and so that sold it for me as well. I don't know why. So yes, I was looking for chunky weight yarn anyway, because I've got a pattern that calls for chunky weight yarn. So this is quite thick. And then this one is the one that I'm using for the hat that I'm knitting. And then I also bought a project bag. Ta-da! Look at this. Let me show you. This is so sweet and gorgeous. And it's big. It is big, 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 big. Big bag. You know, when you've got a massive sweater, like a woolly Aran weight sweater or something. Once I knit a sweater for my partner that I have in mind for the future, maybe towards the end of the year, this bag would house that sweater for sure. So yes, that's it. And then I'm thinking as well we could do a sit and knit section as well. I'd like to do that as well. So I'm just going to equip my knitting. I'll be knitting on my puff tee. So yeah, we can talk about life stuff and see. I've got these end stoppers that I have to take off to protect the needles and for the stitches not to fall off. So yeah, we shall see how it all goes now. And I'm just wondering what you guys are. Oh no, I've lost my stitch marker. There, I found it. Yes, I'm just wondering, it would be great if you can let me know in the comments below what you are doing, what you're working on, if there's anything of interest. Maybe you've got some suggestions, or maybe even the format of these videos. Maybe if there is something, yes, any feedback would be great. If you can comment below, let me know. Maybe tell me what you're knitting on. Yeah, I realize you can't actually see me knit, so next time I think I shall position the camera in a different way so that you can see what I'm knitting as well and how I knit. I realize I've never talked about the way how I knit. Maybe if I can position the camera now. Let me do that. I'll be back in a moment. Yes, I'm back now. I have changed the position of the camera slightly, so hopefully you can see how I knit. I could also in the future put out a tutorial on my knitting style, try and film it from a different angle and show you. So I'm an English knitter, so that means I hold the yarn in my right hand, but I do not let go of the needle. So I think that makes me a flicker, which is a funny word. Yes, so knitters that are holding the yarn in the right hand, they're English style knitters, and those that do not let go of the needle, and we just flick the yarn over, or it's also called leather knitting. I think I'm going to do a video on that actually, on my style of knitting. But hang on, I just have to do an increase now. Just bear with me. Because I came up to the stitch marker, I'm going to increase. So this was a make one left that I did here, and now I can just knit again. So I'm still working on the puff sleeve here. So anyway, I think I'm going to do a video on how I knit and explain it in more detail. That would be interesting. But the way I've learned to knit is basically to hold the yarn in my right hand, and at the beginning I let go of the needle to wrap the needle with the yarn. So that cost a lot of time, and then I taught myself basically to be a flicker. That sounds a bit weird now to anyone who doesn't know the term, but basically I re-taught myself to knit differently by not letting go of the needle and just to flick it over. I'm not sure if you can see. Maybe if I can hold it up and you can see it some. So I would just flick it over, and I do not let go of the needle. So yeah. And also I'm now working on knitting without looking at my knitting. So I'm more comfortable looking at my knitting, however I'm getting much better now at just knitting and not having to look. So which is of advantage when you want to sit and watch a nice movie, but you still want to knit. You can do so. You can knit and watch a movie, which is amazing. You get to, yeah, it's like 2 in 1, right? You still produce something. You're knitting, you're producing a garment, you're knitting something, a hat or whatever, or socks, and you're watching TV. I mean, life doesn't get better than that, does it? So yeah, that's it. And what else can I talk to you about? Yes, here next week in the UK, what we have is we have the Jubilee celebration coming up in the United Kingdom. So this is a celebration that is basically celebrating the Queen's 70 years on the throne. So it's been 70 years now that the Queen has been on the throne. So that's the Jubilee, and that's coming up next week. There will be a bank holiday on Thursday and Friday, and we haven't got anything planned yet. Probably just spend the time with my 2 children and with my partner. If the weather is nice, maybe have a barbecue in the garden. And yeah, generally speaking, life is very busy. I work full time, I have 2 children, and wait, there's another increase coming, so I'm going to do that one real quick now. So life is busy. I work as a senior technician at the local university. We support the academics there, students, and provide any sort of IT support, hardware, software, anything really, anything IT related. So yes, that's that. And also we have a big family holiday planned for this year as well, which I'm very excited about. Yes, we're going to Turkey this year with the kids, so that will be very nice. And to be honest, I can't wait for some downtime. I can't wait for some quiet time, because I'm always busy doing stuff with the girls. So yeah, but we shall see how it all goes. But yeah, do tell me what you are working on, what you're up to. That would interest me. I have no idea how long we've been recording now, because I split the video in half with having a break, so I don't know how long it's been. But I think if we draw it to a close now and say bye for now. I hope you enjoyed the content, and yes, I hope you enjoyed it basically, and I didn't bore too many people with my knitting obsession. So yeah, also just to let you know as well that I am on Ravelry under Wonderworld Knits, where I try to upload all my projects, so you can see there I'm putting the needle sizes, yarn and everything, in case anybody's after any particular information. And I'm on Instagram under wonderful.world.knitting, but again, time doesn't allow me much to be so active on Instagram, so but yeah, that's it. So bye for now. I wish you all well, and hopefully I shall see you. Hopefully next time it'll be sooner. So bye.